With the Constitution class and her new technologies on the drawing board, Starfleet Command would decide to create a highly classified starship design to test all these new systems and iron out the bugs before construction began. And shortly thereafter, the Cochrane Class would be born. But what do we know about this fascinating testbed starship design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Cochrane Class to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, once again, this is a starship design I kitbashed into existence to tell a specific story. As all the longtime fans of this channel know, I love to explore the little topics that flesh out the world of Star Trek and make it just a wee bit more believable. And this video is one of those cases. But as always, because this is just a bit of fan fiction, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. When Zephyr Cochrane broke the warp barrier in 2064, no one could have predicted the effect it would have on humanity itself. Within 50 years, poverty, disease, and war would be stamped out on a unified Earth, and within another 50 years, Earth itself would begin to emerge as a great interstellar player on the galactic stage. The road to exploration of the galaxy, however, was not an easy one. Traveling at the speed of light, or Warp 1, was all well and good inside the Terran system, but to truly traverse the great distances required to start an exploration mission would require at least a Warp 5 engine system. 2119 would see the dedication of the Warp 5 complex by Cochrane himself, its mandate to develop and construct the first Warp 5 engine system quickly in order to get humanity out into space as soon as possible. But due to the complexity of warp travel itself, it would take 42 years before the Warp 5 engine system dream was realized. Of course, Starfleet Command couldn't stop there. With a Warp 6 engine system within their grasp, Starfleet's best and brightest warp theorists would continue to develop this amazing faster-than-light engine marvel. And by 2235, with plans for a new starship class the likes of which no one had ever seen before, on the drawing board, the Cochrane Institute believed that they had cracked the Warp 7 engine system, thanks to Dr. Richard Daystrom's development of duotronic technology. But this new system was completely untried. When it came to Starfleet Command testing new warp systems, they had always done so on a single dedicated starship, specifically designed for this task, and this time would be no different. And so, in 2240, the Cochrane Class would be born. Sitting at a length of 269.2 meters, the Cochrane Class, a highly classified starship project, would be designed to be operated by 282 officers, crew members, and design engineers. Containing a simplified redesign of the components intended to be utilized in the upcoming Constitution class, the Cochrane Class would be specifically geared to test and iron out all the bugs in both the newly developed warp drive system as well as every other newly developed duotronic technology. Theoretically, the Cochrane Class was to have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 5.5, with an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 7.1 for 12-hour increments, all old warp scale of course. To test various aspects of the warp field, as well as different deflector dish setting configurations, the Cochrane Class would contain 3 separate but smaller deflector dishes. Each one would be slightly modified to test different variables within the system before the best configuration and power output would be chosen. The same type of impulse vents to be included in the Constitution class would also be tacked on to the Cochrane class, appearing as almost an afterthought in the vessel's design. A deflector-like array would be added to the aft section of the Cochrane class's secondary hull, though this dish would have nothing to do with the deflector systems, but rather a long-range communications dish, with enhanced security protocols to allow the vessel secure and unfettered communication with Starfleet Command, the newly created Daystrom Institute, as well as the Cochrane Institute back on Earth. It was Starfleet's hope that connecting to all these three entities back on Earth would increase the chances of success for the new systems, with any bugs or errors being able to be ironed out quickly and efficiently this way. Tactically, the Cochrane class would contain the same number of dual phaser emitter banks as the Constitution class was to have. No longer using phase cannons, it was believed this newly developed weapons technology could actually fire a sustained and constant beam of phaser energy. The Cochrane class would also contain a forward torpedo launching system designed to test out the newly developed version of the photon torpedo. Though not being tested in this design, nevertheless, the Cochrane class would contain a single shuttle bay in the aft section of the secondary hull, though it would only contain 2 shuttlecraft and 4 shuttle pods for the test voyage. Interestingly, an old-style lateral vector transporter system would also be included in this class, even though a new transporter system had already been developed for use in the upcoming Constitution class. It is unknown why this new system was not included within this design. Testing on all the new ship systems and components of the Cochrane class would begin in early 2240. And although there were many bugs to be ironed out in the ship systems, by mid-2241, the Cochrane class was purring like a Siren kitten. And so Starfleet Command would approve and begin construction on the Constitution class's first 2 starships, the USS Constitution and the USS Enterprise. And with how successful the USS Cochrane had been in the technology testing phase, Starfleet Command would also keep the starship around as a continued classified testbed for developments in Starfleet's starship systems. Every time a new warp coil, plasma conduit, or circuitry configuration was invented, the Cochrane class would be pulled out of her secret dry dock and sent out to test this new technology. Her last testing voyage would be in mid-2269, when she would test out an entirely new warp nacelle, as well as a very different deflector system. And although she had proven her worth once again in testing those systems, her overall design would lack the necessary configuration to accurately test the newly developed vertical warp core system, which Starfleet believed would revolutionize their starship designs. And so, once testing on this final configuration had completed, the USS Cochrane would be sent back to its dry dock to be decommissioned, with no fanfare, no fireworks for all it had achieved, in fact, no acknowledgement whatsoever, just a cold, empty dock in a secluded star system where she would be completely disassembled and her unrecyclable components scattered to various shipyards throughout the Alpha and Beta quadrants. So classified was the Cochrane class's design and purpose that Starfleet Command would seal the records of its very existence for over 150 years, with the Federation's public never truly knowing or understanding the importance of this single starship. Created as a testbed for a new warp system, as well as duotronic technology, the Cochrane class could be considered to be one of the most important starship designs of the mid-23rd century, earning this class its heroic and inventive place in Starfleet history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Cochrane class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel secretly test out new technologies to help the Federation? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron. both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.